Ladies and gentlemen, we've all been there. The desire to be liked, to keep the peace, to avoid any form of conflict. It's a natural human instinct to want acceptance and approval from others. But what happens when we prioritize being liked over being real, over being true to ourselves? Let me ask you this. What's the cost of always trying to be nice? What is the true price we pay when we constantly put the needs, expectations, and comfort of others before our own? You see, being nice isn't always synonymous with being kind. In fact, being nice can sometimes be a mask, a shield that we wear to protect ourselves from criticism. But at the same time, it keeps us locked in a cage of self-denial. When we constantly try to please others, we often end up sacrificing our own needs and desires. People-pleasing is a behavior rooted in the fear of rejection and the desire for external validation. The problem with this is that over time we lose sight of who we truly are because we are too busy molding ourselves into what others expect or want us to be. This self-neglect might not be immediately noticeable, but it slowly chips away at our sense of self-worth and identity. One of the most insidious aspects of people-pleasing is how it can lead to emotional burnout. When we're always trying to keep everyone around us happy, we overextend ourselves, taking on more than we can handle, often at the expense of our own well-being. We say yes to things that drain us even when we're exhausted or simply don't have the time because we fear that if we don't, we'll disappoint someone, or worse, be abandoned. In the process, we forget that it's okay to prioritize ourselves. We're taught that being nice means being accommodating, but in reality, being accommodating without boundaries only serves to diminish our own energy and mental health. People-pleasing often leads to a lack of authenticity. When we are constantly adjusting our actions, words, and behaviors to meet the expectations of others, we no longer know who we are at the core. We start to become a version of ourselves that's defined by others' perceptions, instead of standing in the truth of who we truly are. This facade may bring temporary approval or a sense of acceptance, but it's never fulfilling. At some point, we begin to feel disconnected from our own lives, as if we're living for someone else's vision rather than our own. The desire to avoid conflict can also play a huge role in our tendency to please others. We fear confrontation, and so we avoid situations where we might have to stand our ground or disagree with someone. The result is a pattern of passivity, where we suppress our own opinions, needs, and feelings to maintain harmony, even if it means sacrificing what's important to us. Over time, this can lead to resentment because we're not expressing ourselves honestly. And when we bottle up our feelings, they inevitably find a way to manifest, whether through stress, frustration, or even passive-aggressive behavior. The toll of constant people-pleasing is that it diminishes our sense of self. We start to believe that our worth is only tied to our ability to make others happy. This is a dangerous mindset because it makes us believe that we need to earn love, respect, and validation through actions, rather than understanding that we are inherently worthy of these things simply because we exist. Our worth is not defined by how much we give or do for others. It's inherent in who we are. And it's essential that we remember this, or we'll continue to exhaust ourselves in a cycle of self-sacrifice, losing sight of our own desires, passions, and dreams. The cost of people-pleasing is our own happiness and peace. By constantly seeking approval from others, we abandon our personal needs and boundaries, which are crucial for living a balanced and fulfilled life. It's important to recognize that we are entitled to say no, to express our true feelings, and to prioritize our own well-being without feeling guilty. True happiness and fulfillment come from honoring ourselves, not from endlessly catering to others' expectations. Being nice is often confused with being kind, but they're not the same thing. Niceness is a behavior rooted in social conformity and the desire to be liked or accepted. It's the art of pleasing others, even if it means sacrificing our own needs or desires. Kindness, on the other hand, is deeper, more intentional, and rooted in authenticity. True kindness stems from a place of self-respect and respect for others, while niceness often comes from a place of insecurity or fear of rejection. When we focus on being nice, we might go out of our way to avoid conflict, to say yes when we really mean no, or to hide our true feelings to keep others comfortable. We wear a mask, projecting an image of ourselves that is shaped by what we think others want to see. This behavior is often driven by the need for external validation and approval. It is superficial and temporary because it's not based on who we truly are, but rather on the fear of not being liked. True kindness, however, doesn't require us to mold ourselves to meet the expectations of others. Kindness comes from a place of understanding, empathy, and genuine care. It means doing something for someone else, not because we expect something in return or because we want to be seen as nice, but because we genuinely want to help and contribute to someone's well-being. Kindness is rooted in the belief that every individual is worthy of respect and compassion, regardless of their behavior or how they may perceive us. It's not about getting something in return, but about acting in ways that are aligned with our values and sense of integrity. Kindness is also about being honest and open. While being nice often involves saying things that are pleasing, even when we don't mean them, kindness involves speaking the truth with love. It's about telling someone what they need to hear, even if it's difficult, because we care about their growth and well-being. It's about setting boundaries and protecting our own peace while still treating others with respect and consideration. Kindness can sometimes be uncomfortable because it requires us to have difficult conversations or to take a stand when others might not agree with us. But true kindness means we are not afraid to be authentic and to prioritize honesty, even at the risk of upsetting someone. One key difference between being nice and being kind is that kindness doesn't seek to gain approval or affection from others. It is not about keeping everyone around us happy, but about doing what is right and just, no matter the outcome. True kindness comes from within and doesn't need external recognition to validate it. It's a reflection of our inner values and beliefs, and it requires courage and strength to practice consistently, especially in situations where niceness might feel like the safer option. When we talk about kindness, we are referring to actions that are genuine, aligned with our values, and done with the intent of uplifting others, not to gain approval, but because we believe in showing empathy and care. Niceness, in contrast, can feel empty because it's often driven by the need to be liked, which isn't a sustainable or fulfilling motivation. True kindness, rooted in authenticity, creates deeper connections with others because it allows people to see us for who we truly are. It's in these authentic moments where we show up as our true selves that we can make the most meaningful impact in the lives of others. Saying no is one of the most powerful tools we have for maintaining healthy boundaries and protecting our well-being, yet it's often one of the hardest things to do. The fear of disappointing others, causing conflict, or being labeled as rude can create immense pressure to constantly say yes, even when it's not in our best interest. However, learning how to say no is an essential act of self-respect, and it's a critical step toward personal empowerment. Many people struggle with saying no because they have internalized the idea that their worth is tied to their ability to help others. We live in a society that often praises overcommitment and self-sacrifice, leading us to believe that if we don't say yes to everything, we are somehow failing or letting others down. This mentality can be overwhelming, causing feelings of anxiety and resentment as we continuously stretch ourselves too thin. However, saying no doesn't mean we are failing or being unkind. It means we are prioritizing our own needs and values. It's about recognizing that our time, energy, and emotional resources are finite, and we need to protect them in order to be the best version of ourselves. Setting boundaries through saying no is a form of self-care. It's about recognizing our limits and honoring them, rather than pushing ourselves past our breaking point, just to meet the expectations of others. When we say yes to things that don't align with our values or priorities, we're saying no to the things that truly matter to us, whether it's time for our family, personal growth, rest, or pursuing our own passions. Saying no is not just a way to protect our time, it's a way to protect our peace of mind and mental health. By doing so, we create space in our lives for the things that are truly important and for the people who respect and value us for who we really are. Another aspect of saying no is that it strengthens our ability to make choices based on our own needs rather than being reactive to the demands of others. It's easy to fall into the habit of saying yes simply because we don't want to deal with the discomfort of rejection or confrontation. But each time we say yes when we mean no, we diminish our ability to make intentional, mindful decisions. We become passive participants in our own lives, letting others dictate how we spend our time and energy. When we say no, we take control of our lives, and we send a message to ourselves and others that our time is valuable and our feelings matter. Saying no is also a way of communicating with others about what we can and cannot do, creating clearer, healthier relationships. While it may feel uncomfortable at first, learning to say no can actually foster deeper, more authentic connections. People who truly respect us will understand that we cannot always meet every request they have, and they will value us even more for being honest and transparent. On the other hand, those who react negatively to our boundaries are revealing something important about the nature of our relationship with them. True relationships are built on mutual respect, and part of that respect is understanding that we all have limitations. Saying no is about understanding that we cannot be everything to everyone. It's about being brave enough to prioritize our own needs and well-being, and in doing so, setting an example for others to do the same. By setting clear boundaries and confidently saying no when necessary, we open up the space to say yes to what truly matters. We protect our energy, maintain our peace, and grow in ways that allow us to be more present, fulfilled, and authentic in our interactions with the world. The fear of rejection is one of the most deeply ingrained fears that many of us experience in our lives. It's the fear that if we stop being nice, if we stop trying to please others, we will lose their approval, their affection, or their respect. We worry that by setting boundaries or saying no, we will push people away and create distance in our relationships. This fear can be paralyzing and prevent us from living authentically, from making choices that align with our true selves. However, facing and overcoming the fear of rejection is a crucial step in embracing our personal growth and empowerment. At the core of this fear is often the belief that our value as individuals is tied to how others perceive us. When we base our sense of self-worth on external validation, we become overly dependent on others' approval, which can leave us feeling vulnerable and insecure. This leads to people-pleasing behaviors because we constantly try to ensure that others are happy with us. The idea of rejecting someone's expectations or saying no to a request feels like a risk, one that might cost us the relationship or leave us feeling isolated. The truth is that true acceptance and love can only come when we are authentic. When we are constantly trying to please others or mold ourselves into what we think they want, we lose touch with who we truly are. And when we lose that connection to our own values, we end up attracting relationships that are based on a false version of ourselves. These relationships are often shallow and one-sided because they're built on an illusion rather than mutual respect and understanding. It's important to realize that rejection, while uncomfortable, is not the end of the world. In fact, it can be incredibly liberating. The more we learn to say no and assert our boundaries, the more we strengthen our sense of self. By standing firm in our beliefs and choices, we become less dependent on the approval of others and more focused on what truly serves our well-being. This shift in mindset can help us realize that not everyone is going to understand or agree with us, and that's okay. People who truly value us will appreciate our authenticity, even if it means disagreeing with them or saying no when they ask for something that isn't in line with our needs. In this sense, Ibyan is often more of a reflection of the other person's expectations or needs, rather than an indictment of our worth as a person. When someone reacts negatively to us saying no, it's a sign that their understanding of a healthy relationship may be rooted in dependency or control. This realization can be freeing because it allows us to detach our self-worth from the approval of others. Instead of fearing rejection, we can begin to view it as an opportunity to reassess the dynamics of our relationships and make space for connections that are rooted in mutual respect and understanding. The fear of rejection is something we can confront and overcome by embracing our own value and understanding that being true to ourselves is more important than pleasing others. When we begin to recognize that rejection doesn't define us and that our worth is inherent, not conditional on others' perceptions, we open the door to deeper, more meaningful relationships. The more we let go of the need for external validation, the more we invite the possibility of authentic connections, where we are loved and appreciated for who we truly are, not for the image we try to project. By facing the fear of rejection head on, we empower ourselves to make choices that align with our true selves and live a life that is more fulfilling and authentic. Building authentic relationships is one of the most rewarding aspects of life, but it requires us to be true to ourselves rather than constantly trying to please others. When we live with the constant need to be liked or accepted by others, we often end up in relationships that are superficial and based on what we think others want to see. The key to cultivating deep, meaningful connections is to show up as our authentic selves without the fear of rejection or judgment. When we stop being nice for the sake of being liked and instead focus on being genuine, we create a foundation for relationships that are built on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. The first step in building authentic relationships is to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness, but rather the courage to be honest and open about who we are, including our flaws, fears, and insecurities. When we allow ourselves to be real with others, we invite them to do the same. True connection can only happen when we share our authentic selves, not when we wear masks or hide behind a facade of perfection. It's through vulnerability that we build trust, the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. When we're constantly focused on being nice, we're often suppressing our true feelings or opinions to avoid conflict or discomfort. This creates a disconnection because, on a subconscious level, the people around us can sense when we're not being fully real with them. This kind of passive behavior might avoid conflict in the short term, but it prevents the growth of a true, honest relationship. By embracing our true selves and speaking up about what we need or how we feel, we allow others to see the real us, which paves the way for deeper connections. Building authentic relationships means setting boundaries and respecting others' boundaries as well. When we're constantly saying yes to others, we don't give ourselves the space to establish what we need in relationships. Setting boundaries is not about being selfish. It's about creating healthy dynamics where both parties can thrive. It allows us to protect our emotional well-being and ensures that we're investing our time and energy into relationships that are mutually beneficial. A relationship built on respect and understanding will flourish, while one based on constant people-pleasing will eventually cause burnout and resentment. Authenticity in relationships also means embracing differences. True relationships are not about finding someone who agrees with us on everything or who mirrors our behavior and beliefs. They are about accepting and appreciating the unique qualities of the other person, even when those qualities differ from our own. Being authentic means we don't have to pretend to be something we're not in order to fit in. Instead, we can celebrate the diversity of thought, experience, and personality that makes each individual unique. This creates a space where both people can grow, learn, and support each other without the pressure to conform. Authentic relationships require patience and time to develop. They are not built overnight, and they don't happen when we're solely focused on impressing or pleasing others. True connection emerges when we show up as we are, honest, respectful, and open to both giving and receiving. When we stop being nice out of obligation and start being kind and real, we create the conditions for these relationships to thrive. It's through these authentic connections that we experience the most fulfilling relationships, the ones that challenge us to grow, support us in difficult times, and celebrate with us in moments of joy. In the end, it is these genuine, wholehearted relationships that bring the most meaning and fulfillment to our lives. The concept of self-worth is a foundational pillar in living a fulfilling and empowered life. Many people mistakenly tie their sense of value to external factors, how they are perceived by others, their achievements, or their ability to meet the expectations of those around them. However, true self-worth comes from within. It's rooted in the understanding that we are valuable simply because we exist, not because of what we can do for others or how much we can please them. When we stop being nice in the sense of constantly trying to gain approval or avoid conflict, we begin to prioritize our own needs, desires, and well-being. This shift in mindset is essential for personal growth, happiness, and fulfillment. One of the key aspects of recognizing our self-worth is understanding that we are deserving of respect and love, regardless of what we accomplish or how we make others feel. The act of people-pleasing, of constantly striving to meet others' expectations, often stems from a place of insecurity or fear. We may worry that if we don't do enough, we won't be valued, and that our worth is contingent on external approval. This mindset leads to burnout, frustration, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction because we're never truly honoring ourselves. We're always trying to be something we think others want us to be. When we begin to recognize our inherent worth, we stop measuring our value by how much we give to others or how well we meet their needs. Instead, we understand that we are valuable simply for being ourselves. This recognition allows us to be kinder to ourselves and to set boundaries that protect our time, energy, and emotional resources. We stop overextending ourselves, and we stop allowing others to take advantage of our kindness because we realize that our well-being is just as important as theirs. Self-worth is about knowing that our needs, desires, and feelings are just as valid as anyone else's, and we have the right to honor them. Building self-worth means letting go of the need for constant validation from others. We can seek constructive feedback or appreciate the support of those who truly care about us, but we don't need to rely on others' approval to feel good about ourselves. When we stop being nice just to earn approval, we start to find a sense of peace in knowing that we are enough as we are. This understanding empowers us to make decisions that align with our values and personal goals, rather than constantly seeking external affirmation. This shift also allows us to embrace our imperfections and limitations without feeling that they diminish our value. No one is perfect. And when we embrace our flaws and mistakes as part of our journey, we let go of the fear of being judged or rejected. This self-compassion is vital for growth. When we stop seeking external validation, we become more attuned to our own inner voice, our desires, and our potential. We stop comparing ourselves to others and begin focusing on our own progress and happiness, free from the burden of unrealistic standards. As we build self-worth, we become more confident in expressing our true selves. This confidence leads to healthier relationships and more fulfilling experiences because we're no longer hiding behind a facade of niceness. We can speak our minds, assert our boundaries, and make choices that align with our values without the fear of rejection or disapproval. Recognizing our inherent worth is not just about feeling good about ourselves. It's about living authentically, making empowered decisions, and fostering relationships that are rooted in respect, understanding, and mutual support. The journey towards self-worth is a continuous one, but it's one that leads to a richer, more meaningful life. In conclusion, the journey toward living authentically begins with letting go of the need to constantly please others and seeking external validation. When we stop being nice simply to avoid conflict or gain approval, we open the door to true self-discovery, personal empowerment, and deeper connections with others. It's about embracing vulnerability, setting boundaries, and prioritizing our own needs and well-being. By recognizing our inherent self-worth, we free ourselves from the exhaustion and discontent that comes from people-pleasing. Instead, we create space for kindness, honesty, and authentic relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding. Remember, you are enough just as you are. There is no need to mold yourself to fit anyone else's expectations. It's time to stop being nice and start being true to who you really are, because that's when life becomes truly fulfilling.